Red Bull left the Japanese Grand Prix as clear victors thanks to a dominant performance from Max Verstappen, who managed to keep both McLarens at bay while many expected the RB21 to face consistent struggles throughout the 2025 season. It now appears that Red Bull has no intention of slowing down. The team has introduced a series of upgrades aimed at improving the car's balance changes that could be crucial for the rest of the campaign. They're also pinning a lot of hope on a new technical directive set to come into effect from the Barcelona Grand Prix onward, which they believe could significantly hinder McLaren's momentum. With that in mind, the question now is, are we on the verge of an epic showdown between Verstappen and the McLaren duo? And could this directive be the element that finally puts a limit on the four-time world champion's dominance inside Red Bull? There's been a great deal of discussion around the RB21's current form, although it's been labeled as a difficult and inconsistent car to drive. Verstappen remains just a single point behind Lando Norris in the driver's standings after the first 3 ways. Hold on, did you know that? 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed. If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second, but it means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Join the family and let's grow together. Now back to the story. Following their triumph in Japan, the team is now preparing further updates to build on their Suzuka success. Additionally, Red Bull is optimistic that the upcoming technical directive will impact McLaren more heavily than anticipated. At Suzuka, changes like a revised engine cover and an updated rear suspension designed to enhance the beam wing's efficiency were introduced. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda ran with a higher downforce rear wing, adding another layer of variation to their approach. Christian Horner has expressed satisfactions with how the team is adapting. So far, meanwhile, Max Verstappen has managed to extract every ounce of performance from the wild and unpredictable RB21. Despite its challenging nature, the car responded brilliantly in Japan, and with more upgrades on the horizon, Verstappen is expected to have a much more competitive platform in the coming races. According to Helmut Marko, Red Bull needs about 5 races to roll out meaningful upgrades that can genuinely challenge McLaren. Any delay beyond that, he warns, could cost them dearly. This urgency is part of the reason why Yuki Tsunoda was chosen over Liam Lawson. Every strategic move now centers around the push for a 5th driver's title. The team is now fully committed, both financially and technically, to refining the RB21. They've made it clear that no expense or effort will be spared in development. Verstappen's victory in Japan, despite dissatisfaction with the initial setup, only reinforces the belief that there is still untapped potential in this car with the right updates. That performance ceiling could be raised significantly. The performance gap between the top teams in Formula One isn't massive, but there's one area where McLaren clearly holds the edge: tire management. Their single lap pace is impressive as well. But what Verstappen can potentially use to his advantage is the internal competition within McLaren, with 2 equally ambitious drivers pushing hard for dominance. We've already seen signs of tension, most notably in Suzuka, where strategic missteps from the Papaya squad ended up aiding Verstappen's race-winning charge. Still, if Red Bull wants to consistently challenge at the front, they'll need a stronger, more stable car. Something capable of finding 2 or 3 tenths per lap to match McLaren's consistency. Expecting McLaren to stand still while Red Bull develops upgrades would be unrealistic. However, all eyes are now on the upcoming Barcelona Grand Prix. And a new technical directive from the FIA targeting front-wing flexibility. McLaren has been at the forefront of aero innovation, particularly in terms of front-wing elasticity. Because of this, they're widely expected to be the most impacted by the regulation changes. Pierre Wash has even hinted that Ferrari could also be affected. Though both teams have denied exploiting any gray areas, we'll only know the true effects once the directive comes into force. Interestingly, McLaren team principal Andrea Stella addressed the situation by downplaying the impact, saying only minor adjustments would be needed by race 9, while the new rules have grabbed headlines. Stella pointed out that the real focus behind the scenes is on finding those tiny time gains that make all the difference. He emphasized that far bigger challenges occupy their attention. That said, McLaren isn't playing it safe. They're committed to an aggressive upgrade path. Throughout 2025, CEO Zach Brown even stated that the team isn't simply refining what they already have. They're taking bold steps with their development, unlike their more conservative approach. At the start of 2024, McLaren's current mindset is to beat the competition, outright, not just match them. From Red Bull's perspective, the technical directive could shake things up in their favor. They strongly believe it will knock McLaren down from their front-running form and bring them closer to the rest of the competitive pack, rather than leaving them as the default favorites at every circus. Looking back at the start of the 2024 season, Red Bull came out of the gates incredibly strong. But as the season progressed, particularly from the Miami Grand Prix onwards, it became clear that they were in for a real battle across both championships. Despite that, Max Verstappen managed to prove he could fight for a title, even with what many consider to be the third fastest car on the grid, something not seen since the likes of Keke Rosberg in 1982 and Nelson Piquet in 1983. What sets this season apart is Verstappen's deeper involvement in the car's development, a clear sign that Red Bull understands the gravity of the challenge they're facing. But the big question is, what exactly are they working on to close the gap? First, it's important to remember that although new regulations are set to take effect next year, bringing plenty of unknowns, Red Bull has no intention of neglecting the RB21's development this season. They're fully aware that going up against powerhouse teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, and even Honda will be no easy task. That's why they see 2025 as a critical window to push for Verstappen's fifth title. Before the recess, the main focus of their development will be on the car's stability. The RB21, despite its raw speed, often behaves like an untamed beast, unpredictable even under Verstappen's control. However, Red Bull now has increased wind tunnel time, and according to Helmut Marko, early results are promising. Engineers have pinpointed the key weaknesses, and the upcoming upgrade package has already been designed with specific performance targets in mind, most notably gaining 2 to 3 tenths per lap. And broadening the car's operating window. These changes could also help Yuki Tsunoda find more consistency as he looks to complete the 2025 season strong and evaluate his future. A more manageable car could allow him to play a bigger role in helping Verstappen at the front. In a tightly contested championship, utilizing both drivers strategically becomes essential, especially when Max doesn't need the fastest car by a mile, just the most dependable one when it matters. Formula One by nature is full of technical gray areas, tiny loopholes that can lead to major advantages. That's why the FIA is constantly working to tighten regulations and level the playing field. But as long as teams are pushing the envelope, the line between innovation and exploitation remains razor thin. Red Bull's mission is clear: adapt fast, upgrade smart, and make the most of this title opportunity before the sport enters its next evolution. The line between innovation and legality in Formula One has always been razor thin, and the FIA has come under heavy scrutiny for how it draws and enforces that line. A perfect example was McLaren's so-called mini DRS system, which first raised eyebrows during the 2024 Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. Despite being flagged, whispers around the paddock suggest that both McLaren and Ferrari may have continued to exploit similar concepts heading into the 2025 season. Now, attention shifts to an even more controversial element: front-wing flexibility. With the upcoming regulations set to be enforced, starting at the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona, the FIA's clear objective is to eliminate any aerodynamic flexing entirely. Teams were given a grace period to adapt, but that window is closing fast. Red Bull is banking on this. They're counting on the combination of their new upgrade package and the impact of the technical directive to help reel in the MCL39 McLaren's rocket of a car. If all goes according to plan, the performance gap should narrow enough for Max Verstappen to seriously challenge for the title. Even Verstappen himself has acknowledged the situation, suggesting that if he were driving the McLaren, we'd be seeing an entirely different level of dominance from him. Following his brilliant victory in Suzuka, he hinted at just that. I'm really happy with how I'm handling my car. I don't even want to think about what it would look like if I was in the McLaren. You probably wouldn't even see me. So the big question now is, can Red Bull close the gap in time? And will the combination of regulatory changes and aggressive upgrades be enough to shift the balance of power? Let us know what you think in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more F1 insights every week.